Russian units were ordered to launch a reconnaissance assault using armored personnel carriers and tanks. The APCs managed to breach the first defensive lines, but the tank wasn't as fortunate. It struck a mine and exploded. The crew abandoned the vehicle, while the APCs, unsure of what to do, slowly began to retreat. The convoy was completely paralyzed. As the tank burned, artillery fire struck an APC near the tree line. Some of the troops attempted to withdraw along an alternate route, but they too ran into more mines. The entire reconnaissance group was wiped out, and this was only the beginning of the story. A Ukrainian reconnaissance aircraft detected a large Russian vehicle convoy. Coordinates were quickly relayed to the nearest artillery battery. Which opened fire using cluster munitions. The strikes proved effective, and one enemy tank was destroyed. A Bradley fighting vehicle, accompanied by an assault team, reached Ukrainian positions under heavy Russian attack. The infantry quickly dismounted and rushed to support the defenders, while the Bradley laid down heavy suppressive fire to protect them. Most of the enemy forces were already approaching the defensive line. Then an unusual situation unfolded. Instead of using mine-clearing tanks, the Russians began employing APCs to open the way. This decision proved disastrous. Mines slowed their advance, giving Ukrainian artillery precious time to strike. The Bradley brought in reinforcements to strengthen the defense. The enemy attempted to hit it with RPGs, but the weapon had no effect, and the vehicle carried on. Meanwhile, a reconnaissance drone spotted more Russian troops advancing from another flank. One Russian soldier noticed the UAV and opened fire on it. At the same time, Russian tanks were executing complex maneuvers, hoping to outsmart the defenders. But before they could capture the positions, they had to overcome more tree lines and minefields. The first tank was halted. The second tried and failed. Artillery immediately targeted the immobilized vehicles. The resilience of the Ukrainian forces was truly remarkable. Dozens of Ukrainian FPV drones filled the sky. A large Russian unit that managed to cross the minefield reached the final stage of the assault. Using smoke screens and various tactics, they attempted to push forward. However, both their tanks and APC were exposed. Ukrainian infantry fired anti-tank guided missiles at one tank, attempting to clear a path through the mines, was struck. This hit could prove decisive. An APC previously destroyed by an ATGM blocked the path, making artillery strikes easier. A Russian APC tried to bypass the wreck, but struck a mine. Vehicles under heavy fire panicked. Another APC attempted to move forward, but the road was blocked. Part of the convoy was forced to retreat. stationary APC exploded one by one. Russian forces tried to regroup. Then they prepared a flanking attack. The second wave began. But again, an APC struck a mine, followed by a tank that exploded while trying to detour. Only 2 vehicles remained. The final Russian attempt at a breakthrough had to be stopped. One APC charged forward, but instead of retreating, it tried to push directly through the minefield and was destroyed. Leopard tanks actively supported the defense, striking Russian vehicles from the very beginning. Commanders committed their last reserves, but by the time they reached the minefield, it was over. The attack had completely failed. Russia had attempted to achieve its objective with 2 brigades and more than 100 vehicles. But the result was a disaster. Dozens of tanks and APC were destroyed. In recent months, Russian convoy assaults have become noticeably less frequent and significantly less effective. What was once a recurring tactic designed to overwhelm Ukrainian defenses with sheer numbers of tanks, armored personnel carriers, and mechanized infantry has gradually proven to be both costly and strategically unviable. Each attempt to mass vehicles and break through fortified lines now ends in devastating losses. And Ukraine has adapted in ways that turn every Russian movement into a liability rather than an advantage. The reduction in convoy assaults reflects a deeper reality on the battlefield. Russian forces no longer possess the same ability to coordinate large-scale mechanized offensives as they did in the early stages of the war. Logistics have become increasingly strained. Fuel and spare parts are harder to move under constant Ukrainian drone surveillance, and artillery shortages limit Russia's ability to provide cover for advancing columns. Instead of rolling waves of armored vehicles, Russia now relies on smaller, fragmented pushes, none of which have achieved decisive success. One of the most striking aspects of these operations is the contrast in adaptation. While Russian convoys continue to follow predictable patterns, Ukrainian forces have mastered the use of modern reconnaissance and strike capabilities. Drones, both reconnaissance and FPV suicide models, dominate the battlefield. Every Russian vehicle entering open ground risks being tracked, targeted, and destroyed within minutes. Mines and layered defenses further slow down enemy advances, creating kill zones where artillery and drones can finish the job. Strategically, this shift has regional implications. In Donetsk and Zaporizhia, where Russia once sought to mount breakthroughs using heavy convoys, their advances have stalled. The geography of these regions, flat fields, limited cover, and well-prepared Ukrainian positions, magnifies the weakness of Russian mechanized pushes. Every attempt to move convoys through these areas results in burned-out wrecks scattered across the landscape, turning the terrain into graveyards of armor. The results of failed convoy assaults are not just tactical, but also psychological. Ukrainian defenders draw confidence from watching armored assaults collapse, while Russian troops face declining morale, knowing that every order to advance might be a one-way mission. Convoys that were meant to symbolize strength now represent vulnerability. long lines of vehicles waiting to be ambushed from the air and struck from a distance. Another layer is the economic toll. Each destroyed tank or armored vehicle represents not just the loss of combat power on the battlefield, but also the strain on Russia's military industry. Ukraine, with Western support, has the advantage of precision munitions, advanced ATGMS, and steady supplies of drones, while Russia struggles to replace losses at the same rate. This imbalance makes every failed convoy assault more damaging in the long term. Looking at the broader picture, the decline in convoy attacks also signals a strategic shift. Russia has been forced to revert to infantry-heavy assaults and localized skirmishes, avoiding the high-risk strategy of sending large mechanized groups across minefields and into the open. Ukraine, meanwhile, has solidified its doctrine of flexible defense, using drones, artillery, and mobile armored units to dismantle attacks before they reach critical positions. The battlefield today illustrates how modern warfare has changed. The age of massive armored convoys charging headlong into fortified lines seems to be over. In their place, small unit tactics, drone swarms, and precision-guided strikes define the new era. For Ukraine, this is an opportunity. By continually eroding Russia's capacity for large-scale mechanized warfare, it not only protects its defensive lines, but also ensures that Russia's costly assaults yield nothing but wreckage and wasted lives. Every failed convoy attack underscores the same conclusion. Russia's traditional strategies cannot overcome Ukraine's adaptability, technology, and determination. And as long as Ukraine maintains the initiative in drone warfare, artillery coordination, and layered defense, the battlefield will remain a place where Russian convoys enter, but rarely ever return.